Consider subscribing.
All right, here we are. I just logged into YouTube a few moments ago, and I've seen that some of the more notable YouTubers have already started posting videos about the iPhone 15. My guess is the embargo of as such was recently lifted, and they're able to talk about the phones. It looks like they're just kind of initial thoughts. I think I haven't clicked on any of them yet, but my guess is going to be first impressions are allowed, then actual full reviews. The full reviews might come the day that the phones are released. I honestly don't know. But I wanted to make this video even before I saw that stuff, which again I haven't even watched, because I feel like there's a bigger problem specifically in this country regarding what's going on with the iPhone. And part of this was just me thinking and observing. Another part of it was Lewis Rossman just released a video almost showing defeat, as if he feels that the work that he's done was useless. And for those of us who are the type of people who like to tinker, like to do things, like to learn, like to figure out what's wrong with something, like to build things, it's unfortunate that he feels that way, because I think he's done amazing work. And for somebody who has also worked on small electronic repair for a good portion of my adult life, he's done way more than I'm ever going to do for the industry as a whole. And he knows how to do way more stuff than I'll probably ever learn how to actually do. So thinking about stuff like that, and then thinking about what Apple is doing with the iPhone, and thinking about what the big three are doing. And when I say big three, I mean Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. It seems like the only people that are losing in these equations are the customers. And as I scroll through this page and the other page, will show that, hey, what's going on here? And hopefully you'll agree. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I'm not trying to sway your opinion one way or the other. I'm just trying to share the information that I feel is in my brain, and I think it's pertinent. Here we are on the iPhone 15 Pro, set to come out in a couple of days. And the main reason I'm bringing up this particular page is just the price. So we all know starts at $999, so $1,000. And the only thing I really want to show, which we'll just select the base, no trade in, or just go ahead and say that we'll buy it outright. And there are two things really that I feel are important for the end user. One we'll see is evident, the other we won't see until we go to the next page. But $1,000 is the price that you'll pay if you buy it outright. You have these three carrier options. So you have AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. And then, of course, you can just activate it later. You can just go to the store and buy the phone. And how I view this is the only option on this page that makes sense is this one, where you just go and buy it and do what you want with it. It's a phone, okay? And prior to cell phones, we would all go get our home phones, and we would we would bring them home and plug them in, because the underlying technology in the phone allowed it to work when connected to our home network. And I'm using networks loosely because it's really just a phone line, but we didn't need to go through a third party to get a phone. And I know there are different technologies and stuff like that, but what this is saying though is that if I can select this fourth option, it will work on any of these three options. So why does Apple need to sell any of these three options if the fourth one will work for all of them? I really don't like that. And no Apple coverage, and then boom, add to bag $1,000. Okay. Now, as I said, there were two things that I really wanted to point out, but right now it will just say this one. So boom, $1,000 no matter which route you go. As I stated, if this fourth option is able to work with the other three options, why do the first three options need to exist? And let's remember that. Let's remember that. But we'll come over to the iPhone 15, so the non-pro item, from $799. Pick my color blue, 128 gigs of storage, no trade-in, buy. Okay, and here we are again with our four options. So the big three, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, $799. But then why is it $30 more if I choose to connect it later? And up here in the small text, it says includes a $30 connectivity discount. But from who? is that discount from the carrier or is it from Apple? And why does App if it's from Apple, why do they care if I'm activating the phone today or not? It almost seems like it's a $30 surcharge for not getting the phone attached to one of these networks. I would say it would be a $30 discount if the price to connect later was $7.99 and these other three were $30 cheaper than that. So what's that? $7.69. So that I would be okay with that. I would still say, well, it kind of sucks that we all just can't pay the same price. But if that's what the company, i.e., the carrier, chooses to do, then fine. Let them take $30 off if a customer comes in and chooses to activate it. But yeah, as I said, this is the customer being penalized by Apple for not going ahead and activating this phone with one of these companies. And activating is the stupidest term that these companies have been using for this entire time because and this is really where it starts getting all jumbled up because prior to the iPhone 14, activation, at least with the GSM carriers, Verizon was in a little different, and so was Sprint when it existed. But activation just consisted of taking your existing SIM card out of your phone and placing it in the new phone. I know technically they could activate a new SIM and attach that to your account, but that wasn't required. All you had to do was take your existing SIM out of your current phone and place it in your new phone, and they'd say, boom, $30 activation fee. For what? I turned it on and put my current SIM card in it and started using it. There was no activating. There's no underlying background activities that need to happen when activating a device. But the reason I say it gets all jarbled up is because the price is one issue, but the fact that these iPhones sold in the United States only have eSIM. They do not have physical SIMs, which means you could almost say that you are now activating the phone because you aren't just taking a physical piece of hardware out of one phone and placing it in another one. You are activating the eSIM, which I don't like. It's not that I don't like that the phones have eSIMs. I don't like that the phones only have eSIMs. And let's just read what Apple has to say about eSIM. An eSIM is a digital SIM that eliminates the need for a physical SIM card. With eSIM, you can quickly and easily transfer an existing cellular plan or get a new cellular plan, all digitally. You can even store multiple eSIMs on the same device and use two phone numbers at the same time. It's more secure. Someone can't remove the physical SIM card if your phone is lost or stolen. In just a few steps, you are ready to make calls, send messages, and browse the web. Use of eSIM requires a wireless service plan. Not all carriers support eSIM. Use of eSIM in iPhone may be disabled when purchased from some carriers. Check your carrier for details and restrictions. Learn more about eSIM and carriers. There was a lot of information in that. And none of it, as far as I'm concerned, was really helpful. Yes, they say it's more secure. And I don't know. I really don't know. Are people getting their phones stolen? And the main reason that the phone was stolen was for somebody to then steal their physical SIM card to then run up a bill or do whatever. I don't know. I would imagine that if somebody stole your phone, they wanted the phone. They probably had, ejected the SIM and went on about the business. But, maybe people are running up people's bills because they say, hey, I have a phone for the next however long before the person decides to cancel their service. I really don't know. But the things that are super important, in my opinion, is the fact that it says not all carriers support eSIM. So what happens to those carriers that don't support eSIM? Starting with the iPhone 14 and later, the iPhone sold in the United States does not have a physical SIM. So does that mean that for those carriers that don't support eSIM, if you want an iPhone, you can't use their service, meaning you're going to go to another company? If iPhone isn't available on your carrier, you're going to fail in this country. And I know it might just be a short-term problem in the future. Some of these companies may be able to support eSIM, but in the realm of technology, things move fast. And even a small disruption in your business model could be detrimental to the company as a whole. And would you go out of business? Probably not. But you might need a lifeline thrown your way. And then that comes back to the big three. They have plenty of money. They'll say, "Yeah, we'll buy you, no problem." And now that we own you, eSIM's possible. And as that happens, competition slowly gets eroded. And before you know it, we are where we are now, which is really, really three carriers, even though there are a bunch of other small ones. And also the fact that it says use of eSIM and iPhone may be disabled when purchased from some carriers. That's just like, wow. That that's very, very, very frustrating. And the same thing goes down here. Can I activate an iPhone 15 or 15 Pro outside of the United States? iPhone 15 or 15 Pro models purchased in the US or Puerto Rico don't have a physical SIM tray, and activating only using eSIM. You can activate your iPhone outside the country if your carrier supports eSIM. Learn more about eSIM while traveling. So again, there's there's nothing really beneficial to the consumer. The eSIM has been in the phone for a while, and if a customer wanted to buy or wanted to use the eSIM, they had the option to do so. But removing the physical SIM is hurting smaller companies because, yes, some of them don't support eSIM, and hurting the customer because it's, even though this says it's easy to transfer an existing cellular plan, no matter how easy it is, it's easier to just pop your SIM out of one phone and put it in the other. That is easier. As long as you have either the SIM ejector tool or a bobby pin or something that's extremely thin. I know that might be the hardest part of the equation, finding something thin enough to poke into that hole. But for people like myself who are constantly swapping phones, trying to transfer an eSIM is going to make things way more difficult. And yes, I know Apple has something in place to make transferring eSIM from iPhone to iPhone somewhat seamless. Not that I've tried it, but from what I've seen online, it looks like it's not the hardest thing to do. But transferring eSIM from iPhone to Android might not be the most seamless thing to do. I think Samsung is doing something, at least, for Android devices and maybe even just Galaxy devices. Again, I don't use, that's not true. I don't regularly use the eSIM. I all the phones that I have active right now, I'm using the physical SIM. And lastly, the Zenfone 9, which is the primary Android device that I'm using, doesn't even have an eSIM in it. So I couldn't, I would have, if I chose to take that line of service over to iPhone 14 or later, I would then have to transfer my account from physical SIM to eSIM. But because I switch phones frequently, if I wanted to go back, I'd have to get T-Mobile involved somehow to transfer from iPhone back to Android. And I just don't want to have to do that. Now, to be fair, I am not saying eSIM is bad. I'm not saying phones shouldn't have them. I have said it for a while, probably for a year now, I think since the iPhone 14 has been out. They need to work in tandem. They really do. I don't like that my Zen phone doesn't have an eSIM. It does have a slot for 2 physical SIMs, but yeah, I don't like that it doesn't have an eSIM. To be fair, I have used the eSIM for myself, and in terms of convenience, maybe about a month ago now, my mother was down here. She was in a different part of the state, and she ran out of data she ran out of data on her current Verizon plan. She's a postpaid customer, and I will say that I took it upon myself to say, okay, well, Verizon's overages are ridiculous. So what we're going to do is I will activate your eSIM. I need some information from you. I will go buy you a prepaid card. I will give you, well, I can do everything on my end. And I did. I was able to activate her eSIM remotely. That's a good thing. I'm thoroughly pleased with the fact that the Pixel 7 has an eSIM. I'm thoroughly pleased that the iPhone has an eSIM, but at least the Pixel 7 and a bunch of other phones have both of them working in tandem. So I think I've exhausted this enough, but I do want to show in terms of the mobile network operators in the United States. AT&T, over 200 million. Verizon, close to 150 million. T-Mobile, a little over 100 million. All right. keep in mind there are 350 or so million people in this country, so that pretty much covers everybody. I know some people have multiple lines, business lines, so forth and so forth. So yes, if that number is actually higher than the actual population, it's because people have multiple lines, like me. But if you come down and you look at the size of these other companies, they are tiny. They're to the point where they almost don't even exist. So we're looking, and I'm just not going to read all the names of them, but we got what, 0.13 million, unknown, 1 million, 0.08 million, oh 03 million, oh 01, a bunch of unknown stuff. Dish Wireless, which we'll see exactly how that actually works, 7 million, which that company was formed as a result of what happened with the Sprint acquisition slash T-Mobile merger. Yeah, we'll see what actually happens with that company. It won't surprise me if somebody actually buys them just to get them out of the way. A bunch of unknown stuff. 0.013. I mean, and that's even old information. So it's evident that most of these companies almost have no subscribers. I mean, to the point where yeah, they're not important in the grand scheme of the big three and Apple. Those customers just aren't important, and that's just a hard truth. So the decisions that have been made in terms of getting rid of the physical SIM are all about those four companies: Apple, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and that's it. So if you're one of those smaller companies, or if you're with one of those smaller companies, and your company or your carrier doesn't support eSIM, if you want one of the newer iPhones, you're going to have to switch, and that's just the way that it is. But the other thing that I wanted to show, and I might have said it somewhere at the beginning of the video or a previous video, but the issues are here in this country. So right now we're on Apple's website, but if you see this little CA right here, oh, I don't know what's about to happen. Okay, it looks like it just refreshed it. But this is the Canadian Apple website. Can I highlight the CA? Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but trust me, this is the Canadian website. The Canadian dollar is this, so the phone is what it is. You can convert that if you want to. I've already selected everything that I need. Scroll down, no trade in, no Apple Care coverage. And what are you not seeing? You're not seeing any involvement with a carrier. You're buying the phone from Apple, and that's all you're concerned about. No mention of a carrier whatsoever. It's the phone, the color, the storage, whether you want to trade something in or not, Apple Care, which that's an Apple service, so it makes sense to be on this page, but no mention of any of the carriers that are up there in Canada, as it should be. Right now, I could add it to my bag and not be concerned about who my service provider is. At least that's how I'm interpreting this web page. We come to this next page. This is Mexico's page. iPhone, color's already been selected, 128 gigs. I'm assuming that's no Apple Care. And again, I have the option to add it to my bag. No mention of a carrier. And I need it to be clear, and it's not loading right now. What is it? Oh, yeah, they're not showing it on this page. But these phones have physical SIMs. Everything that I'm going to show you from this point forward has a physical SIM card, or has the ability to accept the physical SIM card. Here we are, Japan's website. I don't need to know what any of this really says. I could translate it, but we don't need to. Color 128. Come down. I'm assuming that's no trade-in. And then I'm assuming this is no Apple Care. So trade-in. Oh, I think this is just pay it all off versus payments. Yeah, I'm not sure what those actually are. I mean, it looks like pricing. Oh yeah, so I can imagine this is a monthly payment. This is paying it all off at once. No Apple Care. And boom, I don't know what any of it says, but I can tell you that there's no mention of a mobile service provider or a carrier on this page. Where are we right now? It's English, so we are in the UK. Scrolling down, stuff is already selected, no trade-in, buy it all at once, no Apple Care, put it in the bag. And the last one, this is Germany, iPhone 15, color selected, storage size selected, no trade-in, pay it all off, no Apple Care, and put it in the bag. So it's I hate when somebody, it's clear, but I hope you're seeing that The issue is with all three of them. Apple has decided to agree to something. I don't know if they want eSIM only. I don't know if the companies, if the carriers are pressuring them to do it, but it's working out for them as a whole. But and as a customer in this country, it's hurting you. You may not see it right now, but it's going to happen. And very rarely do I like going with the crowd. But if the iPhone and the rest of the world is configured a certain way, I'm going to assume there's a reason for that. And given how business operates in this country, it shouldn't be surprising if the iPhone in this country is configured a certain way only to help the businesses involved. So the big three and Apple. And coming back to the United States, here we are on Best Buy's website. And yes, you got your iPhone 15 Plus Pro and Pro Max, and you scroll down and you only see two of the big three. And not only that, let's just click on iPhone 15. You can't buy an unlocked one or a non-carrier affiliated one. Maybe things will change when the phones are actually released, but usually over here you'd have an option for another phone. So here we are with the Galaxy S23, and yes, you have the big two of the big three, but you also have the option to get an unlocked one. So I'm not sure what's going on, but even the option to buy this unaffiliated phone from Best Buy doesn't appear to be there anymore. And yeah, so AT&T and Verizon. I'm not sure what's going on with T-Mobile. I don't know why T-Mobile is not even here for the Galaxy. Let me try one more. So yeah, so it just, maybe it's what's in stock. I really don't know. But what's important is the fact that you have the option to get an unlocked one. Because if you just want to go buy a phone, that's what you want to do. For people like myself who are prepaid customers, I'm not going to go activate a line of service. I don't have, I could, you know what? I've never attempted to upgrade my device as a prepaid customer. For people like myself, the iPhone 15, it's not unobtainable. But if I buy the regular one, then Apple's going to charge me a tax. And I guess I could buy the Pro. But not having a physical SIM has been one of my issues. Now, the last thing that I want to show, I just Googled where to buy an unlocked iPhone. Yes, maybe Amazon has something. Let's see what Amazon has. And of course, since the iPhone 15 isn't out yet, I don't know. I don't think you can actually pre-order. So yeah, this is locked to boost. Okay, so that's locked. Let me iPhone 15 unlocked. And searching for iPhone 15 unlocked yields a bunch of iPhone 14s and 13s. So even on Amazon, it's looking like the pickings are pretty slim. Now coming back to just my Google search, yeah, you'd say, all right, well, Best Buy should be an option. Walmart, I hate their website, and I've been on it, so it wasn't the most useful thing. But let's go back to Walmart's site. And yeah, we don't have any iPhone 15s yet. Nothing that doesn't appear we can pre-order stuff, unless this is. I mean, that's not a link to click on. So looks like we have 14s and older. If we click on all unlocked iPhone. Okay. And I hate Walmart's website. It's just a mess. But the point of me doing this search is that, Costco did have some, but it looks like you have, at least on the website, you have to get Apple Care, which I don't want to do. I mean, let me see. Yeah, all the options, if you look at the prices, they're a little bit more expensive than what they're supposed to be. And like this, yeah, like that should be $1,000. So it looks like they're forcing you to get Apple Care. Now, maybe It's at a discounted price. Oh, look, here's one. Nope, never mind. Just the picture, the logo's not there, and they're all out of stock. So yeah. But the point of me doing this search was just to show that the options for you to even buy an unlocked phone have almost completely evaporated. Yes, you can go to Apple Store, which, in my opinion, they should only be selling unlocked phones, as you saw through other Apple websites from around the world. That's how it should be. But here, those carriers got their teeth in Apple, or Apple got their teeth in the carriers. I don't know, but it's mutually beneficial to them. So as we go back to our original page here, it's evident, it really is, that if the rest of the world and Apple in the rest of the world is operating one way, that's probably the right way that's probably the right way to do things. If Apple is doing something here with our big three carriers who definitely have the super majority, I mean, we're talking almost total market saturation in terms of how many customers they have. They're only doing things to help themselves. So will I be getting an iPhone 15? I don't know. I really do want that USB-C port, but I don't want to lose my physical SIM. I have considered getting a phone from Canada. Will it work down here? I don't know. And I, when it comes to the radios and the different bands and things like that, my hope would be that the hardware is where it's supposed to be. And if I'm able to put the phone in DFU mode and flash, hopefully, I don't know if it's like regional firmware. I don't know. Is if I put it in DFU mode and connect it to the computer, the computer connected to the internet, it downloads everything. Are those files for phones that are in the region associated with the IP address of my computer? I don't know. Part of me thinks that the phone serial number is associated with a region, and that somehow would lead me to getting firmware from a different country. I really don't know. And for $800 something dollars, I'm not sure if I want to risk it right now. So I think that's all that I wanted to say. It's unfortunate that things are going this route, but yeah, prices are going to go up, competition is going to go down, and before you know it, we might only have two companies. I don't know, but it's really, really unfortunate.